Hey, 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 this is your girl, WayWay, with the WAITT Show. And, WAITT stands for we're all in this together, no matter race, creed, color, gender, whatever. We know that we all love the Lord, so everything leads to Him. So I'm so excited to have a very special guest with us today, but we will get to her really soon. You guys know that I always have to keep you up and dated as far as what's going on in the world today. And of course, other than the new president that we have, yay, President Biden, and the wonderful vice president, all hats, Kamala Harris. Thank you, Lord. So with that, they did inherit the coronavirus issue that is definitely going on around the world, and we definitely want to make sure that you stay up on that because it is real. A lot of people do not believe that it is real, but we want to tell you that it is definitely real. And as you can see, that I go to CNN and track the coronavirus. And with that, it lets you see how many cases that there are within the US. You can click and see what's going on overseas as well. And also, it's nice because you actually are able to see what city and what state that you are in, and how it's affecting your area. So, of course, in Kentucky, you can go over Kentucky and see how many cases that we have there, where we are. So make sure that you're wearing your mask, wash your hands, stay safe, stay 6 feet, stay home. How about that? How about outside is closed? How about stay home? That's all I can say. Stay home. And then this area in the Washington area, and that's where you are. Am I correct, Miss Aneeka?
Yes, that
Yes.
is correct.
Yes. So looking in the Washington area where you are as well, it shows us the number there. So it's very safe to say that you definitely need to make sure that you're covered, not only in the name of Jesus, but make sure that you're covered all together. So
Hmm.
definitely do your part. And it's not just, and that's the thing. I'm finding out that a lot of people think that it's really just about them. And it's not about you, it's about people around you. That's why we're having this discussion today, because we all know that it's about the people around you, not just about you. So, and definitely make sure, my shameless plug, make sure you go to my website at www.thewaittshow.com. There that you're able to email me or send me questions or anything else. And even if you want to get in contact with Miss Aneeka, and you're not able to get in contact with her, email me. I'm pretty sure I can talk and we can share her information as well. So, all right, let's get started. I'm so excited. Y'all know I have my little juice, my little cranberry juice. I'm still I love cranberry juice. Like, do
You
you
know,
drink a lot of juice or water?
I drink a lot of water and
Yeah.
I drink a lot of juice, fresh
Yes,
juice. Yes,
fresh juice.
good for detoxation.
Yes, that's why I figure if I go ahead and start detoxing now, when I'm forced to do it before my doctor tells me, it
Yeah,
works.
it helps. It definitely helps. Getting in the regiment beforehand helps to do it with a thought in mind that I've already been doing this. I don't have to work as hard.
That's right. That's right.
Hmm.
Thank you, Lord. And I love your workouts. So y'all got to check her out. Like she's getting it in. Love it. Love it.
I got to.
Yes,
We got to take care of this temple that we got. This is all we got, right?
that's
So
it.
I just try my best to take care of it. And I literally work out every day, abs, core, strength training, and cardio. So,
All right. I love it. I really, really, really do. And for you all who do not know Miss Aneeka Ferrell, let me introduce you to her. Okay. She has an MBA. Okay. And a VA. She's awesome. She works with a core team. She's like a core team member, right? You work with a core
mhm,
team member of the Rainier Educators of Color Network. Okay.
mhm.
And the Rainier, is it UniServ? Is that how you
Yes,
pronounce
I
it?
am a member of the Rainier UniServ Council. Yes.
Council. There we go. And Miss Aneeka has also been certified trainer, is also a certified trainer for WEA, which stands for Washington
Education Association.
There we go. And the
Mhm.
areas of implicit biasness and the fundamental courses of study as it relates to equality. Basically, she's a bad chick. I mean, because that's amazing for you to be able to break it down to where everybody's able to understand. So,
Mhm.
my question to you, first of all, to explain to our waiters would be, what is implicit biasness?
Implicit bias are those attitudes and those stereotypes that the dominant culture, usually the white culture, has towards marginalized groups. When we talk about that in relation to race, it's the stereotypes and attitudes that drive the way they respond to, react to individuals of color. And so that's how their actions show up. Implicit bias, research has found, starts around the age of 3 years old.
What?
And yeah, yeah. And implicit bias comes from the implicit messaging that we see on TV, through social media, from our families. And so that crafts the way we look and we see individuals who are usually in those marginalized communities. If we think about what happened most recently, when we had that mob attack the Capitol,
The insurrection. Yes, I see that. I was
okay?
going to talk to you about that. Go
When
ahead.
we think about that and the way that looked, and the non-response of individuals towards that predominant white demographic
Mhm,
compared to the demographic of the Black Lives Matter movement,
mhm,
where people were, treated very harshly for just peacefully protesting. Those biases that we have
mhm.
come from those attitudes and stereotypes that we have received from the messaging on TV.
Yeah.
If someone was looking at TV and saw the way that the police and other armed forces were treating the Black Lives Matter protesters, it was very different from the way that the police did not respond and were not even present for those white mobsters, predominantly white mobsters, that attacked the Capitol. And
Mhm.
so our implicit biases drive the way we respond to groups.
Yes.
And that's a clear example of the way the responses are different
Mhm.
based upon the implicit biases that we have.
Yes. And I agree with that because when I seen that happen, I was just like, ooh, I got to get her opinion. I got to get her thoughts on this. I said, because when it came to us, for a peaceful protest, when it came to, they was waiting on us at the door, okay?
Wait on us
They
at
was
the door.
waiting for
Yes.
us. I mean, stagnated, already knew what the plan A, B, C, and D was,
Mhm.
but what happened when they stormed the Capitol on Wednesday, it just seemed like there was no plan. To me, honestly, I really believe that they were just let in, because of who the sitting president was at that time. And they was literally let in because for them to know tunnels and what windows to break and everything else, oh, somebody had to give them a plan. As of if we had a plan like that, I mean, it wouldn't have went over
We
well.
we would not have even been able to have a plan,
Not at
because
all.
we would not have been able to get within 10 to 50 feet of that
Yeah.
Capitol building,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Right.
we're standing peacefully on a street.
Hmm.
And as we stand peacefully on a street, we are confronted with people with shields
Hmm.
and, those pellet bullets in their guns that
Yes.
were, harming bodies that were peacefully walking and
Yeah.
standing. And that is a vast difference between what we saw, with the Capitol. We would never have been put in that position to even get close.
No.
And that comes from the way people see us.
Yes.
Historically, people have always seen the Black male body as
Mhm.
a weapon,
Yes. As a
as a
threat.
threat, right?
Hmm.
And so that comes from, and so just thinking about all of those biases for hundreds of years that people have begun to build within their unconscious mind.
Hmm.
Maybe not consciously,
Yes.
they're thinking about it every day, but
Yes. That
unconsciously
part. Yes.
is that part
Yeah.
of bias, because those unconscious thoughts and
Yeah.
those unconscious actions typically
Hmm.
are what drive the way we respond to individuals based upon color.
Yes. Now, see, my whole thing about that was, and I stand true to my word of what I say, they were not upset that Joe Biden won. They wasn't upset about that. It's that
Mm-mm.
black woman that's sitting in VP. It's her that is causing all. I'm like, the power of our skin,
The
just
power.
the thoughts that
Mhm.
we have some type of power, just the thought that we open. Yes, she won't be the last. I really believe that. But guess what? She's the first. And a
She's the
lot of
first.
people are not, really noticing that she's the first. And usually who makes way for us African Americans. I won't say blacks, African Americans, however you want to call yourself, because nowadays we have our own implicit biasness within
Yeah.
our own community. Let
Yeah.
me put it that way.
Yeah.
And so when I seen her, I was just like, I'm so proud of you, black woman. Like I am so proud of you. And for them to be so angry at the color of your skin, so were they ready to burn it all down because this is not their America? And even noticing, I don't know if you watched it or not, but even noticing like the pictures of the nooses that was hanging around, the White House and everything like that. And even because this brings me to my second question, Miss Aneeka. The thing
Yeah.
about it is that I've even seen video of black men, not necessarily women, but black men saying, forget BLM, Black Lives Matter, and like within the mist. And that goes to that unconscious. What would you have to say about that for a African American to stand with that group and to be so persistent as they are? Like, what are your thoughts about that?
I think that a lot of people don't realize why BLM movement was created in the first place, right?
That's it. Yeah.
So when you don't realize why something is created or why something is being manifested into the movement that it is,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you have a hard time stepping and walking in that
True.
movement, right? Because you don't
Yeah.
know. And so, Black people or people of color specifically, we often think you automatically ought to know that this movement is for you. It's not because of our white dominant culture, it is for you. But we have to understand that not everyone is on their cultural competency journey at the same place at the same time.
Amen.
So we have to be able to walk in that and educate individuals who don't know,
Mm-hmm.
which is why my trainings that I do all the time
Mm-hmm.
drive me,
Okay.
because I know that not everybody is on that cultural competency journey at the same time. So
Right.
it's surprising to other African Americans or Black individuals to see someone who is a Black male or female say, I don't believe in this movement. I don't believe in the work that's going on,
Mm-hmm.
because we expect them to understand and know and recognize the fact that we've had to come through so much oppression.
Yeah.
But times we have to realize that everybody is not on that same cultural
That's true.
competency journey, regardless of the color of your skin.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say to them, you have more learning to learn.
Mm-hmm.
As all of the educators that I educate all the time, it
Mm-hmm.
is a constant learning journey.
Mm-hmm.
When you're thinking about your implicit biases and all of the learned behaviors
Mm-hmm.
that have developed you into being the person that you are, it
Mm-hmm.
is a continued walk to unlearn those behaviors
Yes.
in order to show up and be your best self.
Yes.
And even as an implicit bias trainer, I trained for the summer on this 3 and 4 and 5 times a week.
Mm-hmm.
And I was constantly learning things, not just for myself, but from the people and educators that I was working with.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's a constant requirement for us to understand everybody is not on that same cultural
True.
competency journey at the same time, at the same place. But regardless of that, we need to be able to educate them
Mm-hmm.
and be willing to do that.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I was training educators,
Uh-huh.
and I had an educator say to me, because part of the second part of the training was the equity track, where we talk about implicit bias explicitly. And I
Okay.
asked educators to um, be courageous in their conversations, because that is a protocol that we open up with, so that you understand that you may experience discomfort in this conversation, but we ask that you sit in it, that you understand that it may be uncomfortable. And
Right.
even if you don't agree, you respect the space that we're in, because it's a safe space to share.
Yeah.
This individual who is raising a Native and Black child
Mm-hmm.
said, I don't believe in the Black Lives Matter movement. I don't believe in that at all. And I struggle with it.
Yeah.
And while I had 50 people in this training,
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't an opportunity for me to strategize with just her on how she needed to unlearn these things and why the movement was important. But what I was able to do is to tell her, just like I shared with you a second ago, everybody is not on the same cultural competency journey at the same time, at the same place.
Mm-hmm.
So while I appreciate the fact that you shared that you don't see and understand what this BLM movement is about.
Mm-hmm.
I respect it. And
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate the fact that you shared that with 50 other people.
Mm-hmm.
But I allow you to walk and sit in this space, understanding that there's a lot that we have to learn
Right.
and unlearn in this process.
Right.
And so I do understand not everybody is here. Not everybody is understanding, and people have different conscious and unconscious thoughts about things and perspectives and people and situations. But I have to allow you to be in that space and then continue to work to help you unlearn what you've learned. So maybe you know a little bit better and do a little bit better moving forward.
Okay. That makes perfect sense. I know that he's probably going to get a little bit upset with me, but it is what it is. It's okay. My husband is Filipino and Black. Okay. His mother is full-fledged Filipino, but she doesn't believe in the Black Lives Matter movement either.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, how can you not when you have Black kids and Black grandbabies, and that gives me pause. Like, now I don't feel safe, with my child around you. And it becomes another fear of mine instead of moving forward. And like you said, educating her or even sitting to talk to her. And I think that's what is so special about you, that people are able to set things up to where you can hold classes of 50, 100, however many people, but so that they can get an understanding. And I think that's where the first step is understanding, letting people know it's okay if you don't understand it, but let me help you understand it.
Exactly.
And that way you can move better in this world, because with you not understanding and you still stuck, then that's where you're going to be, and you're never going to grow. And then you wonder why you're so bitter, or why you're so angry, and no one wants to be around you, or no one wants to take care of you. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, because you don't even want to understand how this world works, because it takes all of us, not just one set of people. It takes all of us.
It does. It absolutely does. And people, they have to be able to find themselves being allowed to be vulnerable in a space.
Yeah.
And what I have done as a trainer is have introduced the courageous conversation protocols for every training.
Okay.
At first, started out with just the fundamental courses of study training that I was doing with classified educators in the state.
Okay.
I transitioned to using those courageous conversation protocols, which were developed by Glenn Jenkins to provide people with a space to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And for us to set up before we even started training with us saying, we have to be able to experience discomfort. We have to be able to speak our truth. We have to be able to be respectful in the spaces. And we have to be able to accept and expect non-closure to some of the information that we're learning.
Right.
So every time that I do a training, I open up with those courageous conversation protocols, because I want people to know this is a safe space for you to be who you are, no matter who you are. Most of my spaces incorporate and include predominantly white educators, predominantly.
Yeah.
And so we have to be able to say, you know what? We are here. Here is our protocols for this meeting and every meeting. And then hopefully with those protocols being set up, even if you don't agree with me, which I introduce as part of those protocols, you don't have to, but you should be able to share your truth in this space. Now, while you experience discomfort, I might experience discomfort.
Right.
Like yesterday, her saying that she had a Native and Black son or child, but she didn't believe in the movement, caused me pause. However, I couldn't allow that thought in my head or my feelings about the movement to disrupt the ability to manage the space.
Yeah.
Because there are almost 50 other people in this space.
Yeah.
So everyone, regardless of how you believe, should be able to speak the truth, even if we don't all agree.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is part of the protocols in the initial opening. And I remind them of this at the midsection of the training, because these trainings were like 7 hours long yesterday.
Yo.
And so I just want to make sure that people understand we don't have to agree, but we can agree to hear each other out, be respectful in the space. Because I know not every educator who sits in my training walks out and agrees with the fact that they have implicit biases that drive their way that they respond to or react to people of color. But what I'm saying is, if you hear me, I hear you. This is a space, and we'll continue to learn together.
Right.
But I tell people, don't let this be your only training that you take.
Yeah.
Continue to walk in that journey so that you can continue to unpack and understand what it is that you don't know.
Yeah.
And compare that into what you think you do know.
Yeah.
Because that's part of learning. We all are learning and growing, right?
That's
so that's what these spaces should provide us. And when you start being able to look at your implicit biases and one, recognize that you have them in order to two, debunk them and unlearn what you learn, then we're on the path.
Yeah. You know, that's so funny that you just said that, because I was thinking the same thing. I was like, okay, so like your training is like therapy almost, or it's like you have to understand that you have a problem, that there is a problem, maybe not necessarily even with you, but with your counterparts, that there's an issue that's going on that needs to be resolved. And so when you said, you know, they have to recognize, a lot of people don't want to recognize it. Why? Because they got Black friends. I don't know what you're talking about. Their best friend is Black.
And that, or my husband, or my wife.
Yes. Yes.
That does not change you still having to check yourself and recognize that there are things that fully impact the responses and the reactions that you have towards marginalized groups, Black and brown people specifically. And even in my trainings, I do an activity where I put up on the screen a group of people, and a line of them is a Black man and the same person, all different situations, hats, no hats, hoods, no hoods, a white line of men, same thing, hats, no hats, hoods, no hoods, suits, and then a woman, hats, no hats, you know, dressed up. And then I ask you, please identify the person that makes you feel the most uncomfortable. If you're walking down the street, in a movie theater, you know, in an alley, who makes you feel most uncomfortable?
Yeah.
Those individuals then can use the annotate button in Zoom to identify. When I first started these trainings last year, 95% of the people picked the Black man with the hood.
Wow.
Because they said, this person made me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because he had on a hood.
Yeah.
Now, looking at the second line, which is of the white man, he had on a hood too, but people weren't picking him.
Right.
And the people weren't picking the woman rarely at all.
Yeah.
And so I said, okay, this activity is just to show you you have implicit bias, period.
Yeah.
Regardless of the reason, regardless if you say it's because he had on a hood, regardless if you say it makes me feel like the person who did something to me, whatever those reasons are, we're just recognizing that you have an implicit bias. One, that is the first of this exercise. Two, now let's unpack that. Now let's look at who the majority of the people selected.
Yes.
It was the Black man with the hood, right?
Yeah.
So we're saying that the white dominant culture, and I'm saying the white dominant culture because those are the individuals who are in my spaces predominantly. It's showing me that this Black man makes them feel uncomfortable, although this line with this white man picks the same, wearing the hoods doesn't make you feel that way. Part of our implicit biases that are driving the attitudes and the stereotypes that we have towards Black and brown people, Black men specifically. And so that exercise just kind of opens up their minds and their ideas about you know, look, I didn't think I had an implicit bias, but maybe I do.
Yeah.
And now that I recognize that I do, well, maybe I can continue to take trainings to help address that.
Yes.
And hopefully when people leave my trainings, they leave with an understanding that she's not judging me. She's trying to help me.
She's supposed to do better. Yeah.
Exactly. Because
Yeah.
when you do better, you tend to do better.
That's it. That's it. And it's so funny because listening to you talk and the scenarios that you gave of the different people and everything like that, is so amazing. Because I do like to watch, Will Smith movies or whatever. And in, what was it? It was the alien movie where he had to, Men in Black 1.
Mm-hmm.
And it was an interesting scene in Men in Black, honestly, where he had to shoot the bad person or shoot the alien or whatever the case may be. And instead of shooting that, because everybody was shooting the aliens and everything, like just shooting them, right? He made one shot. And the one shot that he shot was the little white girl that was walking around in the neighborhood, and the trainer had to ask, why did you shoot her? Like, she's a little white girl. Why did you shoot her? And then he was like, well, let's take a look at the scene. This monster over here is working out. You don't want to get shot when you just working out. This monster's over here is just trying to buy some food. You don't want to get shot. This little girl, she's 5 with physics books and everything and everything else. So she looked like she's the one that's out of pocket, not everybody else. And that struck me because it's like, you have to look at everything. And with you just explaining that's just like, that's just true,
And you're right. You're right, Benicia. And the thing of it is that when I share who I selected, it goes to your point.
Yeah.
Because on the second line, I indicate that I select the white man in the suit.
Yeah.
And I select the white man in the suit because that white man in the suit who tends to look normal,
come on,
is the same man who went into a Black church and shot the parishioner.
Yeah.
That white man is the same man who went into the movie theater in Orlando and shot the individuals in the movie theater.
Yeah.
When you see some of the tragedies that drive your thoughts and your thinking, for people like us, it's one who looks as normal as that white individual.
Yes.
Us look at our implicit biases from that perspective.
Yes. Yeah.
As the majority culture
look
at it from another perspective.
Yeah.
So does that mean, and I say this in my training, does that mean that every white man who wears a suit or who looks normal is bad or is going to do something wrong? No.
Right.
But I don't assume to think they are.
Yeah.
When you look at a Black man, regardless of his attire, you have a look about that person or a look about that female that makes you assume unconsciously that they're going to do something or going to respond to you in a way that's going to be harmful. That's different than the way I see it.
Yeah.
And don't make a judgment on everyone that way
versus
the way the white dominant culture sees it
and
tend to make in their implicit biases a decision about individuals of color.
Yeah.
But you have to first recognize that this white supremacist culture is what we live in, what we've been raised in.
Yeah.
This is what has driven all of the constructs that we have right before us.
That's right.
It's us that developed that. It was the white supremacist culture that did. That's what we're trying to debunk. That's what we're trying to address.
Yeah.
And so I think learning about yourself helps you to even look and be able to recognize that using the word white dominant culture, white supremacist culture, white supremacist, racism, discrimination, when you use those words with people who are really trying to recognize who they are in that dominant culture, they're able to hear it different.
Yeah, they are, definitely. And so because we're about to wrap up, but this is so good. You're gonna have to come back, and I will be on time,
Oh,
y'all. She's professional, y'all. Okay, I was having computer issues, but she ain't with it. But I'm telling you, this woman's on fire. I'm telling you, I love you so much for just sharing everything that you have with us in this short amount of time. Because you just said you had 8 hours, yesterday. So even in this short amount of time, we appreciate it. So my question to you would be like, is there any tools to help us kind of cope with the what we're dealing with? Because I know it's not an issue to solve overnight.
mhm.
But it's tools that you can take and trust in the process. So, do you have any tools that you would like to leave with us?
I would suggest that for anybody who's just trying to identify who they are or if they have implicit biases, uh, there is an implicit association test. And so if you
Okay.
Google implicit association test, it's going to come up with a test from Harvard that allows you to take implicit association tests on race, disability, career and gender identifiers, and then go through that test and see what you have a preference for or against.
Mm-hmm.
Start there with learning who you are in your own private space. Then
Okay.
you take maybe some of those implicit association tests that I just referenced. Then, if there is an opportunity to attend some of the virtual opportunities online, I know a lot of people are on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to attend some of them would be great just to, go through, just listening and hearing and maybe evaluating what some of these um, ideologies about implicit bias are. I would say even for our white dominant culture, taking a look at some of the references of white supremacist culture readings and books that
Yeah.
you have, and even for people of color,
Yeah.
reading some of that too, so that
Yeah.
you have an understanding of what it is and how it is that people who are of the dominant culture see
Yes.
us, and how they need to unlearn and address some of those white supremacist characteristics and ideologies that they
Yeah.
have. And so I would say starting out with that Harvard implicit association test to see where you are,
Mm-hmm.
attending some of the online Zoom and free opportunities to just learn about some of these areas. And
Mm-hmm.
then if there's books and other things, Google them.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's online nowadays, so they should be
Everybody.
able to Google and find a
Yes.
lot of things. So I would start and there and then move forward.
Okay. Okay. And I like to say that if you do take the test, whether it be African American or
Or other.
Caucasian or white, whatever you want to call yourself.
Mhm.
Everybody's so
Yeah.
picky. Whatever
Yeah.
you want to call yourself. But my thing is that if you take the test and see that you are showing some type of biasness towards another group, another race, another, culture, or whatever the case may be, that is the first step saying, okay, well, I need to change some things. I need to, and like I said, it's a slow but sure change. So that tools that you gave us is very wonderful, because some people say, I ain't got nothing wrong with me. Ain't nothing wrong with me. I've been thinking this way. My grandma thought this way. My granddaddy thought this way. And that's the thing. And I love the fact that you keep saying unlearn, because whatever you learn, you can unlearn it. It's
Yes.
possible to unlearn it, and it's
Yes.
possible to train. If you don't believe me, look at a new family that's having their first kid and everything
Mhm.
like that. Yeah, they are transitioned some traditions from what they were used to when they was younger, but then they start their own traditions, like, well, this is
Mhm.
what we're
Mhm.
going to do. So anything that is learned can be unlearned, and anything new or familiar that you want to learn, it's possible. It is very
Absolutely.
possible.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And a lot of our churches and parishioners and other entities are starting to talk about this diversity, equity, and inclusion work.
Yes.
So if you are part of those communities, because I know the WAITT Show is,
Yes.
a show that's full of the gospel, right?
Yes.
That's full of love and peace and the godliness that we have. I
Yes.
would say if there's opportunities even within your respective areas of worship, then allow that to guide you too, because they're
Yes.
also doing the work. But I would still say start with you, understand who you are, recognize who you are, and then move forward on your journey.
That's right. Because, and I love RuPaul saying, he says, if you can't love yourself, how the heck you gonna love somebody else? You
Oh,
know? So
oh
I
boy, that is
love that. And it's so true. You have to
mm-hmm.
start with self before you can reach out. That's just
You do.
like you don't have a man. How you gonna tell me how to keep mine? But anyways,
Okay,
so as we come to a close.
okay. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I appreciate it.
Tell us how we can reach you if a waiter wants to see if you could do a class or online class or whatever. Tell us how we can reach you.
They can reach me via email at Aneeka.ferrell@yahoo.com. And I usually respond to everybody who reaches out. So if there are people who are interested in learning more and talking more about the topic, they could reach out that way.
All right. Well, y'all see the beautiful Miss Aneeka Ferrell. Tell your husband and your son I said hello. I haven't seen them
Thank
in
you.
so
Thank you.
long.
I
And
now have a daughter. So
your daughter. Oh my goodness. You
yes,
gotta send me
yes,
some pictures. You gotta send me some pictures.
yes,
So
yes, yes. Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me.
yes, no problem. And she will be back. Watch. I'm convinced to come back, y'all. Watch. It's gonna be awesome.
If you ask me back, I will be back. Yes. Yes.
So we thank you so much for taking your time out to share what you have. Like I said, in that short amount of time, and that's amazing for you to be able to do that and to know that it first starts with us. Now, this is one thing that I do like to leave for my waiters, which is a seed, meaning that you're leaving them with something to think about, to water, to flourish on, to make their life better. What seed would you leave for our waiters?
I would leave the seed of compassion.
Okay.
Okay. You have
Okay.
to lead with compassion. You have to lead with empathy and
Mhm.
open mindedness
Mhm.
and being mindful of
Yes.
those around you.
Yes.
So, those are a couple of seeds. I started with one seed and then I ended up having more than one seed.
That's
So,
okay.
seeds that I would leave with your viewers.
Okay. Compassion. Very
Mhm.
good. And I think the seed that I would like to leave today, even just talking to you, would be love. In the Bible, it says love covers a multitude of sins, and they always talk about the Black community of being so forgiving. You're lucky that we're so forgiving.
Oh my goodness. Oh,
It's
now
a
don't start another
blessing.
word. Don't start another word, okay?
It's a
I'm starting.
blessing
Yes.
that we're there, that we're so
Mhm.
forgiven, and we just want equality and not payback. We
Thank
just saying. So I thank God for able to leave compassion and love,
mhm.
and just think about that as we're taking this journey and looking into ourselves, you guys, on how to make not only ourselves better, but also our neighbors better as well. And don't forget to forgive. Forgiveness opens up a whole lot of things as well. Okay.
It
So, well,
does.
thank you guys so much for joining me again on the WAITT Show and Miss Aneeka. Oh my God, if you want to get in contact with her, her information will also be in the bio in the YouTube. So don't forget to click and share and subscribe. If you have any questions, comments, or anything like that, don't forget to email me at thewaittshow@gmail.com. All right, my waiters. Well, I love you guys, and I love you so much, Miss Aneeka. Thank you so much for
Love
a
you
wonderful
back.
talk.
You're welcome. You're
And
welcome.
until next time.